welcome back to Beast Quest, Series 30, Book 1, Pyrex, the Rock Smasher. New series of Beast Quest. I've done this review a while back, I think a few months ago or something. I can't remember the vague date when it was. Apologies for the delay. I had stuff to get sorted with, and I did make sure to write notes for this review because I made sure to, whenever I get the video done, I want to make sure I'm prepared for it. But here we go. So like always, in for in-depth story analysis. If you haven't read this book, make sure you've read this book before watching this review, unless you don't care for spoilers. With that being said, let's get to it. So Tom and Eleanor are about to leave. New heroes. Tom and Eleanor about to leave. New heroes come back with captured bandits. The new villain introduced. She wants a position of power. They say no, and she shoots a beam. I think it was at Tom. I forgot who it was. We'll see. But she shoots a beam of energy. The cup, but despite her attack or whatever, they capture Zuba, the main villain of this series. They put her and the bandits that were captured earlier in the same jail area, and her staff transforms into a snake. Two attempts to return her to jail, I'm guessing. But Daltek explains that Zuba may be connected to the circle of wizards, and she gains shapeshifting through a staff she got in the Netherworld. Oh yeah, I think she shapeshifts but I believe it's been a while. Not only she can shapeshift, but her staff can also shapeshift too. So when she separated from the staff, it turned into a snake and then headed back to Zuba, so she herself could shapeshift. Okay. Zuba says she can get the mount. She displays her power by turning into a rat, and then gives a potion to the four bandits, the four prisoners, who slowly start to change. The prisoners escape. The new protectors go after them, which is basically the new heroes from the previous adventures. Zuba is escorted for interrogation. She escapes as well. Rafe contacted Tom saying he found Pyrex, but got cut off as Tom attempted to rescue by using the ring that was established prior to teleport. Yeah, there was a ring that could teleport the new defenders. Rafe follows Hyrold to Tom, showing up, and Pyrex finally transformed. Tom reveals the prisoners have been changed by Zuba. Pyrex attacks. It's revealed that Hyrold is out of commission. Rafe knocks, so as in like Pyrex the monster is in control, not Hyrold anymore, the prisoner. So yeah. But Rafe attacks and knocks a horn off. Pyrex uses his whips to take our heroes down, because he has these like they're not, they call them whips, but they're like organic whips that come off his palms. As the fight progresses, it gathered the attention of the villagers, which distracted Pyrex, so Tom then lured Pyrex to him, waiting for the right moment. But Rafe didn't want Tom to die, so he risked charging at Pyrex. Rafe threw his hammer on a cement bucket, tipping over wet cement and placing Pyrex in a mess. With his fine hands clogged, they coiled up his body, and basically the monster was defeated because his hand palms were clogged up, and that caused his organic vines, as it were, to explode and expand all over his body, coiling himself up. And when he's defeated, of course, he's turned human. And from there, it's like, well, now I've beaten him, we've got to go and get the others. And I'm guessing each one of the four new defenders will have their own monster to face. I mean, I can see what the series is trying to do. It's like slowly trying to get them to take on individual threats now that there's a new threat to take off. But it feels kind of misleading, because like I believe it's like the third series involving the new defenders. Correct me if I'm wrong with that. And if it is, you had Malville for 2 ones, and then he suddenly vanishes, and then we've got this new one. I'm not complaining about Zuba, because she's a pretty badass villainess. But it's just a shame that they were focusing on Malville, and then now they've just changed it to someone else. I don't know. Maybe Malvel was defeated so badly that he felt not the need to come back. Whatever. Anyway, though, onto the characters. Rafe's supposed to be the main character of this book. You could argue Thomas, but I think it's more Rafe's story. He's alright. He's willing to risk his life to save his allies, save Tom and all that. Just like, I mean, then again, all of them should be because they were trying to make that potion and all that. So at this point, take what you will. I'm not really sure what the overall goal is. I mean, you could argue that one of these 4 characters is supposed to be the new main character overall, and they're trying to choose who's the best one for that. I don't know. But if it's supposed to be like a fellowship thing where these 4 are supposed to become a group, yeah, I'm down for that, I suppose. But as it stands, Rafe didn't really do much. He just followed the guy that he was supposed to, because each one paired off with their own target, and he acted when he did. So when you think about it, he didn't really do much. He just took action when he thought was right. Tom, of course, doesn't really get to do much. He's more of a plot device for exposition to tell the characters what to do and help them out. But I feel like he did more of the fighting than Rafe did. Zuba is the main villainess. She is a very interesting villain. I do like the fact that not only that she can transform, but her staff can transform too. So it does make her very complex. The problem is, though, as soon as her motivation is vague. So we know that from what we understand, she's connected to the Circle of Wizards, but we don't know nothing more than that. I would have liked I'm hoping for a bit more backstory in this character, like why they want power, because they were robbed of their position of power, and I just want it more than just I want power because I'm just for no reason whatsoever. I just want power because I'm hungry for it. I think it's more. I like to have more complex villains than just power hungry for the sake of the story. So, but yeah, the only vague motivation is she got kicked out of the Wizards from what we understand, and she wants revenge like most of the villains because she lost the position of power. Despite the fact she's already got, I don't really see why she needs more power though when she herself is already very strong in her own right. She's got the power to shapeshift, and that can get away with a lot of things depending on the restrictions of her power. If it's just animals or humans or whatever. But yeah, I feel there's a lot of potential for this character Zuba, so I'm hoping we get more of her, because I do like what we've got so far, and I'm expecting more. Final is Pyrex himself, the Beast. He's essentially your traditional start-off Beast, the traditional charging big... I mean, they tried to give some development for each of these 4 humans, I guess. But over it stands, they're not really really big key characters that stand out. They're just essentially token bandits that they're just there to exist for the plot to develop, and all the character development really goes to Zuba on that part. So they get taken out one by one, but I am hoping that the other 3 criminals will be more, interesting than the big strong guy. So, but yeah. As it stands though, Pyrex is a beast. I appreciate that they gave him, he's not just a charging satyr type thing, which is basically what he's based off. He's got the satyr horns and all that. But I appreciate that the satyr design is not just the traditional skinny goat man, but it's like a big muscular one. That's pretty good. That might have been adapted from his human side though, and I appreciate that he has coil whips, which is not something you'd expect for a big strong guy. So that's pretty clever, and it does lead to his own demise. But yeah, so there are some creative ways where Battle Beast could do that. With that whole clogging ability and all that. Overall, though, it's an alright start. It's not the worst, I'd say. I could tolerate this, only because I appreciate the opening with Zuba and stuff. Zuba is essentially the highlight. She is the one who provides the plot as well. By she's very crafty, like a lot of previous villains. She goes back to the cell because she knows she could get out the cell. She could do many things to cause a ruckus. But all she does is give this potion to these 4 criminals, which I'm pretty sure she observed the crime, and use them as the irrelevant thing. So I feel like this plot of Zuba's essentially is a distraction for her real goal, whatever it is, because that's what it feels like. It feels like she's doing this either to demonstrate a piece of her power, or she's got something bigger planned and she just wants certain characters sorted out while she can do something else. But we'll see. But yeah, that's the first book done. Not much to say because it's the starter book, but I'm hoping for some more story development for the other 3 books now that I've got the series completely. Hey guys, welcome back to Beast Quest, Series 30, Book 2, Makoro the Blinding Stinger. Also, I find it, well, I just realized something. I find it funny that in this book, of course, the Blinding Stinger, his special ability is to blind people, and I didn't realize that until just now. Okay. Anyway, guys, like always, in-depth story analysis and my overall thoughts on this book. So if you don't care for spoilers, make sure make sure you've read this book before watching this review, like I've said, and if you don't care really for spoilers. Before going into this, though, I do want to mention in my previous review of Pyrex, I did mention I wasn't really sure about the fate of Malvel at the time. I did remember that Malvel was killed by Lucor, so I understand reason why they killed him off, but for behind the scenes reason, if they're still going to keep the new protectors around, and it was going to be like a trilogy, wouldn't it make more sense to keep that villain around? I don't know, that's just my choice on the thing. Anyway, though, that being said, let's get to the story. Chapter 1 is about merely exposition about the plot, really, and Zuba gloats. She literally just shows up there to remind her, hey, I exist, you can't beat my plan, and then fades away. So not really much happens in the first chapter, aside from exposition that we already know. As in, the 4 protectors and Tom are, returning Hyrule to the prison and wondering what their next move should be. And of course, Tom is still weakened from his battle with Pyrex, and he's trying to recover from the poison from the last series. Anyway, next up, we see Mackie, who's going to be the next beast. He's walking along, and he's slowly transforming. He bumped into Katia, and when he was transforming, he got stronger, and he was able to throw her off the cliff. And then after that, he fully changed into Makoro. Of course, Katia, she survived the fall. She scared of a bobcat. She scared of a wildcat. Climbed back up the cliff and encountered black diamonds, which in a way are kind of not like a key element, but they are somehow useful in this story. Anyway, she meets a girl, Daphne. Daphne saves her from these geysers, because I believe Cassie is walking along, and then she bumps into the geysers, and then Daphne saves her. And after that, she meets also she does also meet Daphne's tribe, and then Makoro appears yards away from the geyser field. Tom arrives and meets the tribe. Tom, Elena, and Katia go face Makoro, and after a scuffle, Tom is caught, which makes sense because, as we established prior, he's still weakened from the Pyrex battle and the poison from last series. And if you're wondering why he's not using his healing power, as we established prior, Epos has been taken out of commission. And I said it in quotations because there is a hint at the end of that story saying she or its baby is still alive, so there's a way they could return. But for now, it's speculation, so it's understandable why the healing talent wouldn't work. But yeah, Tom is not in a good position to fight at all. That's how he's able to easily get beaten. And I'm hoping next book he's going to be taken out for good, as not murdered, but give him time to heal. Don't get him involved. I hope not, because he needs time to heal. He's already weakened from 2 fights now, and the poison. Anyway, though, Ross, the chief leader, or the tribe leader, rescues Tom, but the slime from Makoro's tail had made him blind, because that's what his special ability is from his scorpion tail. Tom not wanting to quit, but Katia took charge, and Tom was under Ross's care, while Elena and Katia took goggles and headed out because they needed the goggles to protect themselves from the blinding attack. Katia faced Makoro. Daphne told what route not to take, and Elena kept Tom safe, while Katia tried to lure Makoro to the geyser field. Katia was tricking Makoro into walking into that geyser field, which weakened him, and of course he obviously fell for that trap, and Katia was able to finish him off, and Tom was taken to be healed. So, pretty much a straightforward story. I would say I did enjoy this one a bit better than Pyrex, only because that plot felt very simplistic in a way. It felt like, we need a lot of exposition for the plot, and that book was mainly saved by Zuba and the premise of these 4 guys turning into the beasts. And there wasn't really much speculation what to do. They just had to track him down, avoid the charging beast, and then boom, he was good. Again, I will say this, and I will agree with what Adam said when we discussed a bit of Makoro when we were doing it, that Pyrex, I do appreciate that he has a useful ability you wouldn't suspect from a charging beast, and that was the tentacles and the vines and stuff, so that's pretty cool. When it comes to this, on a story perspective, I found Makoro a bit more interesting because it had a struggling lead. I do feel that Caddy was struggling a bit more than I expected to. She was able to have a disadvantage against Maki. She wandered into the geyser field, so she did have a few stumbles here and there. But it does go to show that these new protectors still need the assistance of Tom and Ella to get the job done. And I feel at this point they should have been fully prepared now because after they did like a quest to help, I feel like they should be. I would prefer this series to be more like these characters can handle it on their own now. Maybe they would come across like an ally in the village to be their, assistant. But I don't really feel the need for Tom to be involved now, especially when he's weakened. So it doesn't really make sense. I mean, you could say, oh, well, the other characters. Well, yeah, them too. But if you want these new if you want us to have really have an investment to these new protectors, I feel like it'd be best to give them a bit more independence. Regardless, I still think Makoro is probably the better story per se. I just realized that. Yeah, but I just realized that my camera was a bit tilted there. But regardless, overall, I still think I did enjoy Makoro a bit more than Pyrex. That's just my perspective on things. So it is what it is there. Anyway, guys, that's been my review on Makoro. Oh, as for the characters, I probably didn't say as much in my last review, but whatever. Tom, he's just basically there to be crippled and taken out. I'm not with Elena was more in the background, and then of course the main character Kadia, she's there, but like I said, she's a bit of a stumbling hero. Not really one of my best. Also, the gimmick this season is that every time you beat a beast, their weapons will glow, which will either be a bad thing or a good thing, and I'm more inclined to believe it's a bad thing personally, but we'll see. And then, of course, the villain. I'm not going to go over Zuba because he just appeared in one little scene in the beginning and that was it. So after that, we'll just cut our way on to the beast himself, Makoro. Again, probably the most coolest design of the beast so far. Maybe all four, we'll see. Probably most likely. I do like his design. His ability is pretty useful because I don't really think we have many beasts that can blind another, so that could be useful. His weakness, from what we've examined, seems to be extreme heat, and he is an angry beast. So there are those obvious traits there that could be exploited. So we'll see. But overall, I would say I did enjoy Makoro on a story level because it wasn't as basic a plot as Pyrex was. But I am looking forward to see more complexity plots for the remaining two because I feel like while Makoro is good, it was able to overcome Pyrex for what it was that was set up. So I'm just saying that Makoro could easily be overtaken by a better plot. So that's my thoughts. Hey guys, welcome back to Beast Quest Reviews, or welcome back to Beast Quest with another review, of course. And this one, continuing on the series 30 books, is Leptica, the Nocturnal Nightmare. And overall, I'd say this is probably the best books of the series so far. It would be nice to see if the series finale can surpass this, but I don't really know how it could, because based on how this plot feels, it feels more like a decoy plot. Like, it's not really the final battle. There's more to it. There's more going on. There's more planned for Zuba, and this is all like a stepping stone for her. So I don't really understand how it would make this plan any epic or grand at the end. It'll just probably set up another series. But again, we'll see. As for this book itself, like I said, I think it is the best book of the series so far. But that being said, the competition with it is kind of weak. Makoro had a cool design, but his story was... He kind of had an easy streak because he just walled around, had to go where he needed to go, fight Kadia, and pretty much got taken out when the time was needed. And then you had Pyrex, who again... he rolled off. When he got his power, he tried to fight, and he got tricked into. That's also a thing I've noticed, that most of these beasts get tricked to going somewhere they shouldn't, and it backfires. Then again, well, Pyrex did. He just got some goo fell on him, but I think it involved him going someplace for that to happen. Anyway, though, regardless, in-depth story analysis of my overall thoughts on this epic adventure. So, if you haven't already, make sure you read this book before watching this review, unless you don't care for spoilers. And with that being said, guys, let's get into Leptica. Alright, exposition, and Tom is taken out to be healed because that's what our heroes are doing right now. More exposition about the story, and of course Tom is being taken to be healed. While Eleanor is in charge, they mention a rival wizard called Stefan. That might come into play in the finals, we'll see, because why else would you bring that up? Anyway, carrying on, Lenka is walking on. She bumps into a cellar, and she mind controls him to give her fruit, and she mocks the cellar by putting water over his head, because when she got infected by the potion that Zuba gave her, she was given this mind control ability, and she's able to slowly use that in her human form, and she'll later be able to use it in her beast form. So there's that for you. Nolan chases Lenka, and Nolan's got the eye patch, and he's our hero. He chases Lenka, bumps into the cellar, who's mind controlled. He beats him off because again he's mind controlled, and tells him which way Lenka went. So Lenka wanders onwards and notices she has enhanced vision. She heads towards this cave because again she's got like these bat-like tendencies, so nocturnal makes sense. Zuba checks her progress. That's the thing. Zuba is actually now taking part in the story, as she was part of the story, but she hasn't really been much note before. She was gloating, but at this point, 2 beasts have failed, and now I feel like that's why she wants to check things how they're going, per se. I think maybe my friend Adam had different reasoning why she's doing this, but from my point of view, that's what I got off of it. So she's just checking out progress. Like, 2 of my beasts have failed, I wouldn't know what's going on. Or then again, we don't know what Zuba's plot is. But regardless, I feel like a good villain should, like, hey, if your shit's not really going right, you should always check it out, see what we can do. But yeah, Zuba, of course, completes the transformation for Lenka, so Lenka, but she still has her personality, and I don't know if that's Zuba's doing or Lenka is strong-willed enough to keep her personality, but it makes more sense if Zuba, kept her personality in it to hope victory for this one. It makes the most sense to me. That's just what I'm going to go off. So she kept the personality there. Leptica is now here. She lures Nolan into the cave, and then screams, making rocks fall, and Nolan barely escapes, but so does Leptica, and Nolan calls for help. So I do appreciate this, and I've mentioned this in my discussion with Adam, that I did like that Leptica is able to use the environment to her advantage. It wasn't probably planned out. She just saw Nolan, screamed, and it caused rocks to slide, which is a double thing, because when you're in a cave, that causes either 2 things. You could either A, crush your opponent, or B, you could also trap them and block the entrances. But regardless, no one was able to escape, but I do it. And unfortunately, though, as we carry on, I think most of these events she's just observing. It's not that she's smart, it's just that she has good observation powers, and that's double entendre, as in she's got enhanced vision. But I feel like also, because she has this good vision, she's able to look what she sees in battle and sees how she can use it. But like I said again, some of this stuff could be a matter of convenience. But anyway, so Leptica sends bats to blind Nolan. Nolan goes in. Nolan goes in. He barely fends off these bats, and then he goes in after Leptica. They get into a scuffle. She goes for the kill, but Nolan's saved by Eleanor. However, she gets mind controlled, so we have a useful point for that ability, because you've established this mind control ability. Well, you can't really use it on the main hero of this book, because if you did, the story would kind of be over there. But yeah, so that's how it is. I know my friend Adam's going to make some sort of restrictions to Leptica's ability if she was in Battle of the Beasts. And we also, I think in a story reason, we see some sort of reason to her, a weakness to her mind control, so we'll look forward to that. Elena chases Nolan, gets knocked out. Leptica sends her bats and uses Elena as leverage, while Nolan plans an ambush. Because that's the thing I do appreciate, that throughout this story, Leptica has been the one doing these ambushing schemes, and it's a nice way to turn it all around is for Nolan to do an ambushing scheme. So I know overall for the series that's happened in many stories, but when a story does it on a point where you have a character that's set up for known for doing just these type of ambushing schemes, then the character throws you off guard. It's a nice story perspective from my point of view. So I do like it on that level. No, right. Nolan jumps on Leptica, lifting her in the shoulder. He tells her to yield. She refuses and tries to mind control him. However, she is too weakened from the hit to keep her concentration on Nolan, and then obviously Nolan's able to beat Leptica, which reverts her to her human form. Lenka escapes, and our heroes let her go as there are bigger problems out there, and that's how the story ends. And overall, I would say I find it a bit more interesting compared to the other two, like I've said. And the whole thing of Lenka being alive at the end, hopefully that'll come into play as well. We'll see. So I'll go with my thoughts on the characters and probably my overall thoughts on the story, like I said, but we'll see. Starting off with Nolan. Nolan is a good lead, I find. I know me and my friend Adam has gone into a bit of debate if he's like the best of the four. Some have said, I think my friend has argued that Katia is, or maybe someone else. I know it wasn't Rave because he doesn't like him much. But yeah, got a notification, that's fine. But yeah, so I do think I like Nolan probably best, only because of and based on how the story played out. For me, it felt like it gave him more story development, and certain events played out where I was rooting for him more. But again, this is all a matter of perspective and opinion, so some people might like Rafe more, some people might like Katya more. It all depends on how the story affects the person, and to me, I felt like it affected me. And maybe that's why I'm having a struggling way to explain it to my friend Adam. But again, everyone's feelings are different, so that's the best way I can put it to him. But yeah. Overall, we're moving on to. I don't want to touch on Zuba much because you don't do much, just advances the plot, really. Elena is mainly there to be a tool, sadly. She shows up, helps him with one life shot because I'm just going to kill him. And then she gets mind control and then injured. And yeah, so. It doesn't really do much. Which is a shame because Elena is a good character, and it's a shame that in some books, she has to be put on the sidelines for other characters to be cool. But I understand why, because one of my issues with this story, this whole big story in general, was that most of these characters needed help from allies to help get things done. Whereas this one, it felt more to me that, well, I know my friend Am says, well, I think it was these heroes got the killing blow in, and that was important. But I do appreciate when a book gives these characters more to do, and maybe that has happened before this. But I felt like it was most relevant or open to me about it in this book, where Nolan did most of the work, because they put Ellen in a crippled state, and it was able to give Nolan more focus. So that was appreciated. On the downside, though, Ellen gets a bit crippled on the personality, so that's kind of a meh. So we're not counting the villain because the villain doesn't really do much here. She just accelerates the transformation and heads out. Getting to Leptica herself. Now, Leptica, I find, is the most interesting beast out of the three so far, because she seems to either A, retain her personality, or B, she's actually smarter, and that's how she's able to resist it. But I personally think it's more on the lines that Zuba's plan is going not as he expected to, so she felt the need to intervene on it. So that's how Leptica got probably a bit more of her personality in check. But in a way, her personality kind of led to her demise, if you would say, because she was very egotistical.
there's a lot of egotistical beasts, but she's probably up there with how egotistical he is. I think my friend Adam thinks Silexa, was it the cat? Stone cat? That the cat, stone cat beast, Silexa, is probably more cocky than she is, but she's up there though. The animal species that she is, nightmare, the nocturnal nightmare, but she's up there. I don't really have much to say on that because there are several instances, 4 times perhaps, where she gets cocky or has the opportunity to kill him, and it's not her strategy is normally to send traps or things at him before using her true powers. She'll send either the bats or use the environment to stall him and then go for the kill, which is a nice. I do appreciate that creativity, but on the other hand, she has mind control, and she just mind control Nolan and keep him in one place. And I know at one point my friend Adam has mentioned, well, maybe the eye patch will stop this from happening, but no, it just so happens to be her weakness is concentration. She needs concentration on the mind control for it to work. But if there's only one person and there's no way to stop that concentration, then there's nothing really stopping her. So, yeah. If I was in her position, I would have just gone for the mind control straight in the way. That's just me. But regardless, though, even though I don't agree with some of Leptica's decisions, I still enjoyed this book for what it was worth. Her other ability is that she can make screeches, and it causes rocks to crumble down, and she can summon bats. Pretty good abilities to have for a bat. Her grasping claws doesn't really come into play. It would have been nice if they did. That's just me, though. Her wings are awesome, and overall, despite my little nitpicks here and there, I did find it was equally balanced on the hero and the villain. So there was some nitpicks I had, but I still think this is the best story-based book to me. That's just me. As for a beast perspective, probably the most interesting beast as well out of the 4. So hopefully, when we get to the final book, Selkara, was it? Hopefully the finale will be good. Hey guys, welcome back to Beast Quest with the last of the 4 reviews for Series 30, literally. This, of course, is Selkara, Monster of the Depths. So, it's been a fun ride reading this series with my best friend Adam. I have enjoyed it. I would say it's not the best series in my personal opinion. I'll get to that when I can. But like always then, overall, it's not the worst, I'll say that. It's not terrible, it's still not the best though. But regardless, like always, in-depth story analysis and my overall thoughts on this epic adventure. So if you haven't already, make sure you've read this book before watching this review, unless you don't care for spoilers. That being said, let's get into it. So, it starts off with Selma, who is running off, still thirsty. She followed a river that led to a village, because she seems to be the character, or she seems to have this desire for thirst. So she's following along, finding a river, which leads to a village, where she sees a horse trot, and then she puts her head in water in her hands in water in it, but she's still thirsty. And now she's hunted by some local villagers who chased her into a river, leaving her for dead. Basically, she falls into the river and she goes downstream, and they presume her dead, but of course we know she's not dead. We get to Daltek, and he seems to have fully healed Tom. However, Daltek feels it's a bit unsure about it. Daltek also reveals that he's also known about this mysterious magic that the weapons have inherited after the beast is killed, or I should say defeated actually. But that has been, so that he's known about that built-up plot point through the series as our heroes fear. So they're fearing what's that mystery about. Yeah. Then we have Myandra. She bumps into the locals and they tell her where Selma went. The Elder gives a ride, and she is told of some pirates, and also they bump into that group of pirates in their large vessels, where they're introduced to Captain Claw, a pirate who has a connection to Rhea, and he took the Elder and Myandra captive, but then the beast arrived. So Kara attacked, and the pirates and Myandra made a truce, basically a temporary truce, to fight off the beast, which led to her dragging the ship around. Helena is sent, as Tom might be not ready to fight in their minds, but Tom goes for his weapons, but without him knowing, Elena goes because she was a bit concerned about her friend. But in the end, even when she arrives, she gets welled and knocked out by the beast and kind of like hanging, need rescue. She's put in a position where she herself, Elena, needs rescue, so Myandra gives her some help there. Selkara destroys the ship, and then everyone escapes, including Elena and Myandra. And she told the captain Claw and to put some to she's gonna take some chains, and she wants Captain Claw's crew and himself to pull when she gives the signal. So she wraps the chains around. Yeah, she gets the chains ready to wrap around the beast. So Myandra drive down and tricked Selkara into encoiling herself into some chains. The crew pulled, and Selkara was dragged out of the sea for the final blow. Basically, she was dragged to the sea for the final blow. This enchanted Myandra's trident and turned Selma back to her human self, while Claw had lost his ship, his ship, his gold, and his crew as they left him. Basically, after that, and I assume they let Claw go for saying thanks for helping out. And Zuba is hinted to return another day. So yeah, basically that whole plot point of Zuba being established doesn't really do much, and then that whole thing with the magic, yeah. But yeah, that is of course Selkara, the Monster of the Depths. It's not the best book in the world, but it is one of the better stories of the four of them, because there's a bit more development with some of the stuff that goes on. So I would put this possibly second best. It's hard to say. Makoro is good. But yeah, the characters, Myandra's their main lead. She's probably one of the more developed of the four of them compared to the others. I do like her, not as much as probably the previous one, but it's a bit debatable. I think these two are the previous one. Was it Nolan? And Myandra, they work well for me. Katia was Rafe was there. So those two really stand out for me in the series. And then we had, of course, Eleanor, who's basically there to be muscle, but she gets taken out, allowing Myandra to get more development. So again, I appreciate that in this situation, that Myandra is actually able to prove herself and defeats the beast single-handedly. I'm not going to talk about too much, but I know that me and Adam share our viewpoint on, kind of agree on our point on Tom, because he's becoming more prideful and trying to take matters into his own hands because of his position. But regardless of his position, no matter how powerful he thinks he is, he hasn't really done all these beast fights he's had. He hasn't done it alone. He's had to require help to get to where he is, or that position where he is, and so on and so forth. And if it wasn't for Elena Series 24 and his other allies, he would have been defeated. So he should have a bit more respect for his allies now. That's what I think. So it is a bit of a shame that they kind of have to it seems they're kind of reworking his plot point to, we've got to rework the character back to his old roots because new viewers. But I don't understand why they can't just explain, past events briefly as much as you can. That's what I would do. As for the villain, Zuba, it's sad to say he doesn't really do much in this series. He's just there to, set up these characters, these villains, break them out, and boom, have some anarchy going on. She's a fun villain. I do like her powers and her personality, but it's just a shame she doesn't really get to do much. She tries to raise the stakes up with Leptica, and after her fourth beast gets taken out, she just flies off another day. So again, it feels like there's something else going on with that whole magic stuff, in the weapons. But what it is a bit disappointing that we have a villain who doesn't really do much per se. When it comes to the other villains, she may be the villain who gets involved in this series the least, because other villains before this have always been involved in their plotting. But Zuba really doesn't do much compared to other villains in their solo series, maybe. Unless you can really think of one, like one series alone where the villain did less than Zuba. Let me know. I guess the beast, Selkara. Selkara, she is an alright beast. She's supposed to be the legendary monster of legend. But that's what she was turned into, like this creature of legend. So that was a nice twist, having it not be something unique, but something that was hinted at from a story and a legend. That was pretty cool to make it real. I do like that thinking. And she's a type of sea monster type thing, like an aborigine of nature. So I did like that concept. Adam does think she's a cunning beast because how she's able to pull the ship. So there is that, and then he's also implying there was an element of egotistical there. It's debatable. I was going to say angry for how she's rushing everything around, but I'm willing to tolerate cunning. I don't really see where the ego would come into play, but cunning's all right for me. I can give that a kind of pass. But that's what I'd say. And like I said, when it comes to the whole element, the one element they built up in the story is that there's this mysterious magic, which every time you give the final blow on a beast, it goes into the weapon. It's a built-up thing throughout the series, a mystery box, like Doctor Who, like the Bad Wolf entity and all that stuff. The difference is, though, unlike those, this one never has a payoff. You built up this thing in this series, this mysterious magic. You wonder what it's going to be about in this series? Well, guess what? You don't get to know. They don't tell you anything. You're just there, gets mentioned by the heroes. They want to know what, even they are curious to know what's going on, and there is literally no payoff for it, which is a big missed opportunity. I know they're probably building up for the next series, but if that was the case, it was kind of poor planning to introduce it to this series, and you're not going to mention anything about it. I know the heroes mention it, but there's no real payoff for it in this series, and that's kind of a bit unfair. In my personal opinion, it feels a bit unfair to your fans who've been waiting for a payoff, and then say, "Oh, you've got to wait till next time for that." It does feel a bit unfair to the fans and viewers, or readers of the book, you could say, for waiting to see what the payoff is. So I feel like that feels a bit unfair in my personal perspective. But that's just probably how I see when it comes to storytelling. But, Zuba was alright. Again, if she did more, maybe I could like her more. She's a fun villain, but because she had less, right now she's kind of on the back burner. My main complaint, of course, is the mystery thing not having a payoff in the story perspective. When it comes to the beasts, I did enjoy them. Leptica will probably be the best book when it comes to story and beast-wise. Selkara or Makoro is 2. Take what you will. There's good things about both. Maybe because I'm a bit partial to Scorpions because it's my zodiac sign. Star one. There you go. Selkara is probably 3rd, maybe. Bit hinting there. But again, Myandra makes up for a better lead compared to the Katia one. So there might be that going for it too. Yeah, because Katia was kind of a weak companion, where Myandra was more. So better here in this book, and the beast is debatable. But yeah, that's really all I've got to say. I did enjoy these 4 adventures. It does feel like a scheming plot, like there's no big arc. But it feels like Zuba is up to something bigger. And this plot did feel like, create a little chaos, create a little anarchy. But there's no big scheme of hers that we know of so far. So, and I'm hoping that, of course, with Captain Claw, he gets to come back into play later on for another fun villain to make unexpected alliances with. That'd be pretty cool. Kind of like Petra in a way. Overall, I did enjoy this series. It's not the best. I'm looking forward to doing my collaboration with Adam when I get the chance. Adam Ferns, that is. And I'm looking forward to seeing his review. I know he's told me that he's uploaded it, so I'll make sure to get to that when I can to be able to see it. And I look forward to seeing more Beast Quest content out in the future and see what else brings. Thank you all for watching, guys. Until next time, peace out.